Hello, everyone. Welcome to All Aboard with Rob Belliveau. I'm Rob Belliveau. Today, we are here with two work colleagues, friends, professionals in the educational technology industry, Puneet Kaur and Rabia Ijaz. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. So excited to be here.
Yeah, we rarely have two guests at once with me, so this is going to be fun. Our goal is really to tell the listeners more, about who you are, what you do at your company, and the mission you're on with what some of the topics are. And we really want our listeners to take away some solid learning from you today so they can go back to their organizations and implement what it is you do. Both of you working for D2L, which makes Brightspace. We often talk about a lot of our guests. That's the track that weaves us together is that company and that system. Who is Puneet and who is Rabia? I'll start with Rabia. How about you? Your role, what you do at D2L, and what you're excited for today on this podcast session.
Thanks, Rob. So Rabia is a technical account manager at D2L. She's been there for the last 4 years, 4.5. Currently, taking a little short break, mat leave, which is a new phase in my personal life, but I still feel that's important to share.
Yes.
And then I'll be back in action doing the same stuff that I did along with IDEA that we do. And a little bit more that I just want to share. I think one of the reasons that I'm really passionate about, being on this podcast is that you have unique guests that come, and each time I heard the podcast, I've learned something new. So I'm hoping that, this session is a moment for others to learn from us as well, and for me to learn again.
That's my goal too, and thank you so much for sharing that. And it's going to be a good one. People are going to take away some things. Puneet.
Yeah, hi everyone, and my name is Puneet Kaur, and I'm a senior technical account manager here at D2L. It's been just over 5 years when I started in EdTech realm and started my work at D2L. And before that, I was an educator. I'm a proud mom of a teen and a preteen, so life is fun nowadays. And in addition to what I do at D2L, I am very passionate, like Rabia said, I'm very passionate about diversity and equity, and I am IDEA co-lead with Rabia at D2L. So that means that we are trying to build everything in action when it comes to inclusion, equity, and making an impact where everyone feels supported to do their best work. And one such thing that we do at Fusion, where we collaborate with you, Rob, and Neon Train team, where we just work together and build some safe space for individuals to be their best version.
You're getting ahead of me already. We're going to go down. We're going to talk more about that. And, IDEA, when we talk about that whole concept, the 4 letters mean something, right? And as we talk about how we met at an IDEA session, committee, I guess, planning Fusion, D2L's annual users conference, inclusion, diversity, equity, and allyship, sometimes accessibility, depending on the organization, they kind of swap those words out. We're gonna talk about that today, and we really do want our listeners to learn from both of you and your lived experience as being champions of IDEA in D2L, but also, as women in educational technology, you have a big job to fill in your technical account management jobs, and you're now doing this, kind of on the side, but certainly, it's a passion of yours. That's a lot of responsibility, and quite frankly, very commendable. And I'm honored to have you both on here today. It's awesome. And as we talk about that, we met a few years ago as I was on the committee to help build some activities for Fusion. What do you remember about that first time you met me? Were you like, who's this guy? What's he, what kind of ideas has he got? What quite frankly, can this white man who owns a company bring to an equity and inclusion session? Like, what were you thinking?
I'm going to let Puneet get started because he met you first. And then from there, I'll share you what my reflection was, because
she was the unlucky one.
No. So when I met with you, Rob, it was the first time when we were doing an idea networking session at Anaheim. And I do remember that time when I was connected with you before we had to do that session, that, okay, there is a steering committee member who wants to work with you. And I was so delighted to know about that. And when I met with you online, when we were just discussing virtually that what we're going to do, some activities, you said white man, but I saw an ally in you. And you build that trust so easily in a room. You create that safe space that we are truly striving for as idea leads, that everybody just feels supported, and everybody, like, I'm going to talk about myself. I felt organically I wanted to be my honest version with you. You create that environment and it's so natural at you. So that is what my first experience was with you when we just started with idea networking session at Fusion. And when we were there, you were there helping me side by side executing those events, those activities that we were doing together. And right from planning to execution stage, you have been there with us. And it's been more than 4 years that IDEA is collaborating with Neon Train. And I'm so proud of that fact. Long way to go. But yeah, I was so impressed when I met with you for the first time.
Super kind words. And definitely those initial planning sessions, we were going into kind of some uncharted waters of having a steering committee member who helps plan the Fusion conference, which I've done for several years, come in to help affect and implement and help you out with the idea networking idea and just the activities. And we'll talk a bit about the activities in a minute, because some of those, we've explored some interesting areas in those sessions. Also felt equally received and in equal level. And I really appreciate them letting me in on this and actually helping me grow, because that's actually a big part of why I do this, is to put myself in uncomfortable situations to learn from people. Even earlier today, folks, the listeners, I clarified a last name because I was worried about messing it up. I want to be honest that I can respect that. So, Rabia, later on in the planning, you came in. What was your first thoughts?
So I heard positive things from Puneet. First of all, that was like, oh, okay. And then we had a Zoom session. And then when I met you in person, I was like, this is exactly the person like Puneet had spoken highly, and you reflected that. The solid memory that I have first was in Toronto, the Fusion session, where you actually and during the session said the same thing. There was a word where you were like, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but can someone clarify this? And that automatically, sets a stage for everyone. Like, it's not perfection that we're trying to achieve. It's about learning from each other. And the audience was so positively receiving that. And then it led to healthy conversations. Many of the things that we didn't we planned activity, but there were some moments that were unplanned, and you stepped in and supported us. And it was just like that turned out to be the highlight of those sessions.
Thank you. Yeah, I've learned a long time ago that, faking it and trying to buff through it with, saying things wrong, just ask. And that humility and that honesty builds some of that trust. So for listeners out there trying to help think about being part of IDEA or inclusion and equity in your workplace, or as an employee or an employer, just put down your guard and ask questions, and everyone's really open to it, right?
I do agree with that, because that's what I started doing. Very clearly, English is not my first language. I'm not a native English speaker. So I just admit if I'm not understanding a North American joke, or if I'm not understanding some word, I just say, could you please explain that to me? Could you just simplify that to me? So there's really, when you're being your honest version, or when you're vulnerable, it never goes wrong. And people appreciate that. People are looking for that honesty in you.
Yeah. It's less about what you say. It's about how you learn to say it, really. And as we talk about Fusion, we've talked about Fusion on several podcasts. It is the annual users conference for D2L Brightspace. Both, employees, tech partners, users of the system, administrators, everyone from deans to provosts to CEOs to educational technologists to instructional designers. I could go on with a list of people that go to that conference. A session on equity and inclusion and how we can tie that into good outcomes in education has been a staple now for a few years. But for our listeners, maybe each of you can just kind of talk a bit about, let's set the stage for if they were coming to a Fusion and we're going to sign up to come to one of our sessions, from the time they enter the door to the time they're done, about an hour-ish later. What is that experience? What do they hear? What do they see? And what do they do? And what do they leave with? What outcome do they leave with that would make it worth their time? So why don't we set that stage, and maybe I'll start with Puneet, just set the stage of coming in, and Rabia, talk a bit about a couple of the activities we do.
Yeah, so when people enter in the room, first of all, they're signing up for a networking session, or a session where we are going to talk about some vulnerable thoughts about inclusivity, intersectionality, or unconscious biases. So that is what is oftentimes communicated to the folks who are in the room. However, when they enter, there is still some sort of curiosity around what this is going to be all about. Is this just going to be just a communication around what the intersectionality or equity or inclusion means, or we are going to learn some more concepts? So it starts from that, and then people open up. They appreciate that this is a safe space where they can just talk about how they really feel about certain things. They can be honest about few things that they do not understand. And then gradually we move on to having them some tangible takeaways that they can take back, some personal takeaways that they could apply in their own institutions or their personal lives. So it just goes beyond an information session or learning more about what all of these concepts are all about, but actually moving on to what I can really do. So actually just empowering humans in doing what they really care about. And those are the key takeaways that they take back.
Really, it's not really a networking session. It is an educational session, really. If we're talking about taking away outcomes, things back to the organization, moving a dial on, unknown to known, about whether it's unconscious bias or whether it's about other areas to do with, difficult conversations in the workplace that we've explored. We're moving a dial. And Rabia, a couple of the activities in the past few years, maybe tell our listeners a couple of those activities and what dials we've moved with those.
Yeah, for sure. So I do want to emphasize the structure of those sessions, honestly, is like an educational lesson plan, because being a teacher, that's how I saw it. We start off with like a icebreaker, which is essentially where for 5-10 minutes, everyone's just going to start mingling, having short conversations. So setting up and giving those prompts, such as like, where are you from? Because it's a fusion session. There's people coming from across the world. So it's like, how many fusion sessions have you attended, and all that kind of stuff. I think one of the more successful, all of those activities were successful, not going to lie, but I think one that is the highlight personal for me. The main activity was roll the dice. So it was like we had 6 prompts, 6 questions, and then like in a short group, everyone rolled the dice and they had to take turn answering questions. And I remember during one of the fusion sessions, like 20 minutes in, and we're still on the first round. Like, people are having healthy conversation, lengthy conversations. Those prompts were designed well. That's what I could tell. The team did amazing work because of it. And then from there, ending it off with like them sharing their thoughts, and then some resources that we have. So there's like the goal of the session and those activities is essentially to learn from each other. Because again, networking is an idea. I think that's the fundamental aspect. You learn from others, and the people that enter have that growth mindset, and so therefore those activities turn out to be successful. So those are just a couple of things that we've done. Other many successful activities, and I'm sure we can go on.
Any activities that kind of stand out for you, Puneet? One or two, or one that really stands out that was maybe tougher? There was a couple we thought were going to be really tough to get through, and they turned out to be really quite good, actually.
Right. One that stood out to me was when there was this activity when we asked a person to stand in the room and then just say the big wind blows for me or for a person, something along those lines. And then they had to say something that was a detail about their personal life. And the next part of that activity was that anybody who resonated with that or had a similar experience, they just came together and they had to be together in a group. And that just sparked that initial conversation. It was so magical to see that how everybody just started talking to each other soon after that. And then they were building some real connections and there was a community of learning. And that's the whole idea, that to be learning from each other.
I remember both of those activities very well. And, I think what the magic, as we say, isn't actually extremely complicated, technical, or difficult. It's people coming into a room, into a session with a willingness to talk, with a willingness to share some element of detail, whatever's comfortable for them, so that that relationship can be built. And with those relationships comes trust, and then we can build on trust to move into action. And I think that's what we've seen in those activities. So for listeners out there that are thinking this, what is this big idea thing? It's actually just some really small activities to get humans talking. And I know at a couple of those sessions I've talked about the importance of people being able to talk and be open with each other. It will create better courses. It'll create better quizzes. It'll create better assignments. It'll create better content for people's educational journey. It'll make you understand your learners better if you're a courseware designer, if you're a teacher or a professor, if you're an administrator in charge of an organization, a CEO, a provost, or a president. It will help you relate better with the people that you're there to lead and guide, which will just lead to better outcomes at the end of the day. And I think that's what we saw, people just talking and getting to know each other, and barriers drop. And then that's when you can work on things, right?
Yeah, I could hear the chatter that, oh, wow, I can take this takeaway for my institution. This is lovely. Like, I never thought about that. Like, challenging your own perspectives, opening your learning realm, and opening up the horizon for more options that are there, which we have never explored.
Yeah. Right? The movement of those sessions has been really, we've been involved in it together for several years. The shift, the first year or so, maybe 20, 30 people. The last couple, we've had 40, 50 kind of people. What's most memorable for you in the shift of, starting this and then sticking with it and seeing the momentum? What does that mean to you? And is there something that stands out about that for you?
I would love to start off.
Yeah, go for it.
So I think over the year, idea is something that I've seen being politicized in many different aspects. And I felt like there would be hesitation over the years, people joining. So when I saw that number increase of individuals joining the session, it was a complete opposite of what I was expecting. So it was very positive. And during the session, I did ask a couple of those individuals, like, why did you decide to join this particular networking session versus others? And they were upfront and honest, and they're like, due to how it is right now, I think this is the most important topic because it's unspoken. And that is why I came to this session. And because I want to learn, like, if I can't say a certain word, how do I achieve those goals in my educational career and make a difference to all of the learners' life, but also stay within the guideline? And I'm like, that's a beautiful question, and it's going to take some time for me to think about it, but let's talk. And that just led to a conversation that blossomed.
That's awesome. Yeah. Puneet?
Yeah. So what really stood out to me was that when we started, it was just an awareness session that what this all means and what we should be aware of about, like I said, intersectionalities, people from diverse backgrounds, diverse cultures, and just being able to understand and adapt and accept them how they are. What really resonates with me is how over the years, it has evolved into something that is actionable. Same people, they want to come back and again attend idea networking sessions, like Rabia said, that they just want to be here because right now it's even more important to talk about the change that we want to see in the world. And what really stood out to me is that oftentimes this comes on idea sessions that people, they just assume that it is a safe space for everyone. What is a safe space? The definition for me could highly differ from what is safe space for you. So challenging your own concepts around safe space, making it, designing it for people, and having a conducive environment for everyone in the room, which means asking right questions, fostering engagement for everyone so that everyone feels supported to speak. And that is where you start seeing the best versions of people when they are feeling supported and they want to do their best work. So this is the change that I've seen over the years where people say that, yes, this is exactly how we want to be in the room. And same folks who attended 4 years ago today, their face, it just delights. Like they are so happy. They want to be in the room and they want to talk about things. So,
well, it's creating a group of allies within this whole idea of allyship to help make this movement, right? And we talk about making a movement. It's often there's one or two people out there trying to do something. The followers come on, then everyone sees it's a cool thing, and then everyone comes on. And I think that's what has been achieved. And again, tremendous respect and kudos to both of you for being champions of that in D2L in your organization and letting me be a little piece of it. And I appreciate that. And as we talk about that, working in an educational technology company and the EdTech, as we call it, D2L more recently was named one of Canada's top diversity employers in 2026. That's a big thing to have as a statement of a company, but then folks like you that work in it, do those words and actions match? Does that really match for how you feel working there every day?
can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it. You win. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, D12 has been awarded for 4 consecutive years.
Oh, there
It's
we
been
go.
like the award has been given to us for 4 years in a row. And being a woman of color in EdTech, a technical account manager, I can see that in action every single day. And it's not an overnight work. It's a genuine effort consistently over the years that has led us to be here where we are. So right from when I joined, I feel so supported, and the leadership, they see the best in you and they help you do your best work. So yeah, like there is a genuine intent behind making D12 a safe environment for everyone, a safe company where everyone feels supported and everyone is thriving and building their career trajectories. So yes, I can definitely see that in action.
Rabia, how do you feel about that?
I think Puneet highlighted it really well for the company. And personally, I think, okay, so one thing that has happened over the last few years is the acronym for ideas changed. So initially we were inclusivity, diversity, equity, and allyship. Recently, we've changed it in the last year to be a little bit more inclusive. So it's inspiration, dialogue, empowerment, and allyship. We wanted to include the word dialogue and empowerment and inspiration because of the fact that that's the goal, right? We want to make sure that everyone in the company and individuals outside of the company that get involved feel welcomed. And we're all allies supporting each other's into growing from where we all started. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, to hear those stories, I believe obviously it because I am close to the partnership of the company and both of you. But for listeners out there, I think it's important to know that there are companies out there that have the values and the missions and they write them. But it's nice to always still hear and see that many also follow through on the action, which it's not just a checklist item for them; it's an actual doing. So that's awesome to hear. As we think about like moving forward. Now, Rabia, I think that even might be the first time I heard that shift in the name. So you've even caught me, which is great. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I want to go look that up more and get ready for Fusion this year. The look forward of changing that name, changing not the scope or focus, but trying to cast maybe a wider net than what IDEA has previously cast. Where do you see this going in the next couple years? But also, let's leave our listeners with a couple closing thoughts of one or two really tangible actions they can take, after today's session, hopefully listening to us and hearing some of the ideas moving forward. So just a little wrap up there.
Okay, for sure. That was a lot. So I'll try my best to keep it short. I think one of the things that I personally, when I think of IDEA and the vision, is speaking about intersectionality. So it's like understanding that each person comes with the whole shades of like multiple different identities, and being able to resonate or include as many as possible, and then orienting the sessions and workshops and like the conference discussions around that as well. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
me, Rabia, is a woman that wears a hijab, who's Muslim, who's also a technical account manager, a mom now. So it's like all those identities come together, and how do I make um, a space that's inclusive for everyone? And the same thing applying for you, taking your identity, taking Puneet's identity, and making that, puzzle that is unique and colorful, with all of the different pieces that are coming together. So that's the vision for IDEA and for all of the future sessions.
Awesome. Puneet?
Um, Rabia summed it up really well. And this is exactly how I aspire for IDEA to be, to make it meaningfully inclusive. This is work in progress. We all are learning. Even I am personally.
It's never finished, is it?
It's never finished. And we never, like, I still feel I need to learn a lot. So it's going to be an ever evolving, ever, okay, sorry. Can
Yeah.
you say it again all over again?
Yeah. Just go back to
Yeah.
ever evolving.
So, all right. Okay. So it's an ever evolving process where we are learning and still here to empower each other, learn from each other, and still be there. And that's how we build a community where everybody's learning and still being their best version, and just be open and vulnerable when we do not understand anything. So that's what I aspire for IDEA. And one takeaway that I would like to give to everyone who are aspiring to build inclusivity in their workspace is that just start.
Just start.
There will never be a perfect moment. You will never feel that, okay, I'm ready. That moment will never come. So just start, be around people who help you learn. And that's how you're going to meaningfully build a community where you are bringing an action into reality.
I just want to add one more thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Closing words.
Yeah, closing word for sure. I think what Puneet said gets just start. And one of the ways is simply just coming to a meeting or a session and asking individuals to be open, or saying that this is something that I would want you to speak without any, worries or concerns. Like this question that I'm putting out here, it's a safe space. Mm-hmm. So just say that, and then after that, get started.
There's no stupid question. There's no dumb answer, right? It's pretty open. Both of you have been open with us and the listeners today. I thank you so much for putting this out there for everyone to hear, for everyone to see that this isn't as big as some people think it is. It can be smaller with tangible activities and actions and sessions purposely built to bring people together, just to talk, to learn, to listen, and bring something back to their workplace or to their school and make a bit of a difference. And, we've, I think, done that together. I'm proud to be on this path with both of you. For the listeners out there, if you'd like to get more insight to some of these activities we've talked about, you can email us at allaboard@neontrain.com, and we'll be able to share with you some of the different scripts and some of the activities that have been done at the Fusion sessions. We'd love to share that and give you a head start on making IDEA, whatever IDEA is to you, something that makes your learners, your employees, or your coworkers' lives better in your workplace or school. So thanks for listening with us today, folks. Rabia, Puneet, it's a pleasure. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.